be prepared to invest. This is your body. I am not going to go Walmart on something as serious as a bodybuilding competition.
Boss bitch. Boss bitch.
All right, you guys, why are we here today? Welcome to Boss Bitch Radio. I am here with my lovely co-host,
Coach Glitter.
Coach Glitter. Today, we're going to talk about coaches. Not like we're going to talk about coaches, but like, do you need a coach?
Do you
when
need a
you
coach?
have a coach, when you're looking for a coach,
What's good in a coach? What is a red flag?
red flags, some shady shit to look out for. We're also going to talk about athlete responsibilities. So if you are a client, AKA an athlete, we're going to refer to them as athletes.
Yes.
There's a certain way you behave as an athlete, right?
Well, I mean, you're paying somebody to give you this plan, right? So I feel like you should just do what they say.
And also listen to your gut at the same time.
Oh, well, yes.
So, and that's
Well,
like
we'll
a
get
weird
into
thing
that too,
like,
though.
how do you explain to somebody to listen to your gut, right? It's like
You feel it.
You just
There's
know.
a thing.
Okay,
There's a feeling.
let's dive in. So the reason why we wanted to talk about this today, and we've talked about this, I feel like sporadically through other podcasts, but we haven't really dedicated like a podcast solely to, do you need a coach and what you should be looking for, right?
Yeah.
But we talk about it often because we see some interesting things, and that's not, I'm not trying to hate on coaches, and there are some things that I will be like, yes, please, that's ridiculous. But we communicate often. We have a coaches meeting every Wednesday, me, you, and Leisha. We talk about like how our athletes are doing, our clients, questions are coming up with, like we communicate about this. We're very much like on top of what's happening. Other coaches, not so much sometimes. Some common things, I don't want to say that they're red flags, but things to consider we're going to go over. But before we dive into that, let's talk about why you would need a bodybuilding coach.
A coach in general.
Yes.
A coach in general. So like if you have any type of goal, unless you're going to like get in the trenches and learn all the things yourself, why not hire a coach who's already been in the trenches, already knows the tips, the tricks, all of that, and let them guide you, right? And then what they're going to do is they're going to set some clear goals. You're going to have your goals. They're going to take it from you and they're going to show you how to get there. They're going to give you the roadmap.
Yes. Very good. Said very beautifully, my
Yay.
friend. Yes. But, clearly we're talking about competition coaching. And honestly, even if you're not competing, this applies in a fat loss sense. If you're like, I really have this goal I want to achieve, it could be health, or it could be fitness, or it could be fat loss based, strength based, any of those. Hiring somebody who has done the thing that you're wanting to achieve essentially is the fast route, right? Like you don't have to ChatGPT, Google, YouTube, all the things.
Yeah.
And piecemeal stuff together, because then you're with the paradox of like too many choices.
Right. Well, the thing
right?
is that there's not necessarily, there's more than one way to do the things.
Yes.
And everybody's going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of like similarities and parallels with coaching, especially in the bodybuilding world, some common themes that you'll see.
You guys are going to eat a lot of chicken probably.
Yeah. And things like, dietary wise that are very similar. But when you go into looking for a coach, you should be prepared to invest. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not, you got to do your homework, which we're going to talk about, but be prepared to invest. This is your body. Okay. So when it comes to bodybuilding specifically, this is your body. I am not going to go Walmart on something as serious as a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, I'm not just going to shop on price, right? Like when I'm at the Target store. Okay.
Yes.
And I can clearly afford the Tide, right? Like I have zero problems. I can buy the Tide.
Yeah. Like
but
$4 more.
But it's not that important to me, right? So like if I'm going to trim the budget anywhere, I'll be like, I can Gain is fine, right? Or like the store brand.
The Target brand.
The store brand dish soap, right?
Yeah.
These are the things that I say like, do you, boo-boo, use your coupons, do your things. But when you're doing a bodybuilding show, and this is like, no offense to anybody that has done this, because I get it and I understand we all just can't afford to just shell out a bunch of cash for things, then you probably shouldn't be bodybuilding. Let me just be real. It's an expensive fucking sport.
It's a hobby.
So one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody DMs me and the first question they ask me is, how much is coaching?
Right.
If you're shopping based on price, I'm probably not the girl for you, right?
I mean, what would you do? I guess, how would you lead with that? Would they lead with that they're interested in coaching and this is about me?
Yeah, I mean,
and then get you to answer and then ask?
Like, lead with like, okay, I've looked at your page. I've seen your athletes. I've looked into communicating with them. I would have mad respect for someone who wants to hire me for coaching and they start DMing my athletes.
I feel like
how's
that's
your experience?
happened, correct?
Please do. Yeah,
I feel like that's happened to you.
That's happened multiple times.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, do your homework first and then, and lead with that. Like, hey, I'm interested, I'm just want to see if this is in my budget. What's your price range? I understand needing a budget 100%, but I'm just saying when it comes to coaching, I'm not saying that because a coach costs more that they're a better coach, but generally, like when I first started, I was charging $99 a month. Okay. Like that's not a thing now, like
No,
at all.
It's not a
that
thing.
was also over 10 years ago, right? Or maybe I started at like $89 a month. I don't know. It was ridiculous.
Oh, well,
But things have definitely changed, right?
Yeah.
The approach has changed. The software has changed. The deliverables,
knowledge.
the things that I do, the street cred that I have, and same for you. So you have to know that it's going to be an investment, right? You get what you pay for.
Yeah, right? No. And, considering this is your body and like your health, I think a couple of things, like if your coach is not like wondering about your hormones and whatnot, it's probably, you should find somebody who cares about that.
Yeah, that's important when you are manipulating things to extremes with your body, right?
Yeah.
I always know when I'm going to have issues with an athlete when I suggest to them pretty early on, you're going to need to get some labs done. Like, this is your health. I take it seriously. You should too. Let's see where we're at. If your hormones are trash, I'm not going to put you into a prep. You're going to waste time. You're going to waste money. You're going to feel like shit. Your health is going to get worse, right? So it's nice to know where we at when we're starting. Are we at a good spot? If we're not, then we shouldn't prep. We shouldn't do a show.
You should get that fixed first.
Definitely. But some things when you are looking for coaching that you should be, like your expectations, one should not be, in most cases, that this is like a cheerleading team.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Bodybuilding is a solo sport. Okay.
So, yes.
There is too much time that you need to have for you to be, having all of these team things.
Yes. And
as much as I would love that, you have to think too, like a lot of your team isn't even in the state most of the time, depending on who your coach is.
Yes.
Like you have a ton of clients that aren't in California.
Yeah, a lot. More than half of my clients are not in the state, that I don't see them, touch them, do any of the things. And all the coaches that I've had, with the exception of my first coach, because he was local, kind of like our girls have that luxury here.
Right.
But all my other coaches after that, I've met one of my coaches I never even met, that I won the Tahoe show and one of the other shows.
Right.
Damien, I've met him multiple times because he travels a lot.
Yeah. He's always at shows.
And he went to like my national, like my pro card show, right? Like to go get my pro card. But it wasn't because I was the only one competing.
Right.
It was like he had like 4 or 5 athletes, right? Which is usually the case. And I think the expectation, like, don't expect that your coach is going to always go to your show if you have an online coach. Right.
Right.
That's an unrealistic expectation, especially if you're the only athlete they have in that state or city or whatever. The second expectation I feel you should not have is that there's going to be a ton of team things happening. Like, we're all grown women.
I feel like
a lot of time have children.
The only time I ever see my team is on fucking show day. And even at that, it's just in the first show, because then everybody disperses and then we all go back for finals. Or even if it's the show that's just one show, I see the men and then we're gone and then that's it.
Yes. And then I also feel like the other expectation that your coach is going to also do all of your posing and all of your, like all of that included. Maybe that's included in the price, but that should not be assumed. That should be something you need to get on, because especially like I said, over half of my athletes are not local.
Right.
And trying to plan timing with posing and this and that, and posing online is not my favorite. Okay.
I want to touch you.
It's very challenging.
I want to touch you.
And
so if you are an online client, like your coach should be totally fine with you going and posing with somebody in person where you're at.
Yes. And that's why, like, I'm always on my Instagram, like, we're having a posing, like, I offer posing in person. Mm-hmm. You should take advantage of that. Like, if you are in Modesto and your coach doesn't do posing, you should come train with a pro and someone who is cranking out physiques and posing athletes, instead of just like trying to figure something out online. I'm not going to try to steal you from your coach. Like, that's not my jam.
No.
So you can come pose, right? I think it's important for you to find somewhere where you can pose locally so somebody can actually touch you and see your body and put you in the right spots.
Yeah. I mean, even with that, like I have clients and athletes that are in New York, and she has a trainer. She has a posing coach. I'm her competition coach. Like, if you're really in this and you want this to be a thing,
there's a lot of moving parts.
You're not going to just have one coach. I mean, and not to mention, you know, the people that are supporting you, those people also kind of come like little baby coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot, you know, and I think this is a good foundation for somebody to understand financially what they could potentially be getting themselves into, right?
Right.
Like posing coach. I had separate posing coaches that charged me separate from my coach.
Yes.
I had my coach, right? I had all the body work that comes with it, you know, just
massage,
there's extra things.
Cupping.
Yeah. But also I had a trainer. Right? Like, I would drive out to Casey.
Yeah.
Casey would train me, and he was my personal trainer. It was not an all-included thing. So that's essentially like a la carte, right? Like, we have training at the studio.
Right.
We do competition coaching. Those two do not, it's not
one.
No, because
it's not in one.
Competition coaching in general, that at least that we offer, is so personalized that it has to be and more of an investment, because we are investing more of our time with each person. And also, as you get closer to show, the contact with your coach should become more frequent.
Yes.
And that is something that we do. You know, we generally are like communicating every 3 to 4 days, 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
And it becomes every day sometimes. Like, some of my girls are 2 weeks out. I'm like, text me tomorrow, text me tomorrow. Text me tomorrow, like, because they're hanging on by a thread. And I'm like, I'm trying to keep them focused and all the things.
No, yeah.
So you might not see the investment at the front end of your prep.
Right.
At least with our coaching, right? You get that check-ins every week and marching orders and like talking to your coach and all the things. But then as you go closer to your show, this is when things get more challenging. This is when communication, this is when the coaching steps up because you need it.
You're like glued to your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why when people leave us, it hurts a little bit.
It hurts our feelings
because,
a little bit.
You know, and I've gotten way better at this over the years. I mean, there was times when if I would lose a client, I would be like crying. And like, I lost a client recently.
Yes.
And I fucking cried about that shit.
You're
because it's been so
sweet.
long since I've lost a client that was like an athlete that was in prep. You know, lifestyle clients, they come and they go and, you know, whatever. But I'm like prepping a client and like milestones are happening and, you know, miscommunication. I'm a human just like everyone else. Occasionally I make a mistake, you know, but thankfully, you know, in my opinion, it wasn't that like crazy of a mistake. There just wasn't communication. So if your coach does something and you're like, I don't think that's right.
I honestly, in my check-ins, I'm like, if I missed anything, if you have any questions.
Every time.
Please reach out.
Every time I'm like, if you need anything between now and your next check-in, you know where to find me. Don't fucking go mute on me. And then, you know, like, oh, you weren't answering my question, you know. We have boundaries. I think every coach should have good boundaries if you want to have a personal life. And then when we don't have boundaries is when we're in prep and like you're 6 weeks out and I'm like, I'm your bitch. You need me on the weekend.
What do you need?
Hit me up, you know, but we have to make that distinction too, that we're not friends.
I always like to say we're not, but I always like to say, like the people that are more in the DMs, in the messages, in our app of what we use, like those are the ones that are killing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They are absolutely killing it. And then, to go on for what you were saying, yeah, we're not best friends, right? I'm your coach. So you have to kind of take that with, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I need to like do that. And if I don't, my coach is going to come after me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, it's just asking questions.
Yeah. You have to ask questions.
I was annoying as fuck to my coaches probably.
I would rather
I'd be like, why do you want me to take this supplement? Like what? Like when we tell our clients stuff, we explain.
Yes.
Right?
So that's the thing.
Over-explain sometimes.
There you go. If you ask your coach a question and they're like, oh, just because I said so.
Yeah, my first coach was like that.
Don't do that, okay? That is not a good coach. They should explain it to you. If they can't explain it, they don't know why, and they're just doing it because somebody did it before them.
Yes. Like
and
this
they
is
don't
just
know
what
why.
we do.
Yeah. There's always a reason for something,
Yeah,
okay? So
yeah.
if the coach that you have is telling you that,
red flag. So, but as an athlete, I feel like as an athlete, AKA as a client, you have responsibilities too, right?
Right.
Like same thing. When I have coaches, I know I have responsibilities. I got to do the fucking work.
Yeah.
It's number one.
Yeah.
Right? You went off on that.
I did. I mean, that's the thing. It's as much as I can give you all of the information and I can be like, here, do all of these things. If you're not going to do it, it's not going to work.
And it doesn't, it doesn't.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't matter.
It does not work. Okay.
Other responsibilities, like we said earlier, like if something is off or you're confused or you're like, I'm not sure.
You're sick.
Is just double check. I'm not going to be insulted if you're like, hey, I think my macros are off. Can you just take a double check? I feel like I'm inputting it wrong. I don't know, but can you just double check? I think maybe it got glanced over. Cool. Great. Shoot me an email. If I don't respond to you, like within 24 hours during the week, DM me, be like, hey, I just want to make sure, fucking the internet does some shit, right? So communicate, send check-ins on time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm the worst client for that.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
So sending them on time, right? This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves as of late because I have such a tight schedule that when I give clients a check-in day and they don't check in till 2 days later.
Yeah.
Because our system kicks it. Like 2 days, boom.
You have 2 days.
You have 2 days.
And your check-in just goes boom, next one. And if you're missing that check-in, you're missing a whole ass week of work that you could be doing.
Right. And for me, if your check-in is on a Thursday and you don't check in until late Friday or Saturday, I am not working on the weekend, right? Like now I can't even really, like I have athletes that I'm trying to be there for at shows and this and that. And like, that stresses me the fuck out. And like, it would just, it's just a lot, like you want to just have a free weekend and it's like, just do what you're supposed to do. And if you can't, just let your coach know.
Well, that also is going to like push your check-in back,
Yeah, because I'm not getting to that shit till Monday. So now it's 4 days.
Right. And then you've lost however many days. And that's because you cut your check-in late. Okay.
Yes. The other thing when it comes to finding a coach, while we are friendly with our athletes, right? Like we're friends. I'm friends with the girls. Of course I am.
We're all friends.
I am not your friend when it's time to do your check-in. Like if I'm looking at it and I'm like, bitch, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You pay me for an outcome. That's at the end of the day. So yes, I will have empathy. I understand life happens and shit happens and people get sick and die and all that. Of course, I'm a human. I understand I'm not a robot. But if you're just like, I had PMS this week, this and that, I get that too. But to a degree, my empathy
not a free
runs.
Pass.
It's not like
it's
because
not a free pass.
I have competed, as I've said, almost every podcast 16
100
times. And every time fucking shit pops off in my life and you have a decision to make. Do I continue to prep or am I going to complain and make excuses as to why I'm not doing the thing?
I was moving. I sold my house. I lived with a friend. I bought another house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you
All
just do the things, okay? You just make it happen.
Yes. Okay. The other thing if you're an athlete, if it's not on your plan, don't assume it's okay to do or eat. Okay. Like without asking, right?
Right.
So,
Yes.
and more specifically, like, oh, I think using olive oil to cook all my food should be fine. Like stuff like that.
Yeah,
Or-
I mean, if you don't know what the percentage your meats should be, that's a big one. You definitely want to make sure that that's like a thing. You're asking that if it's 99%,
yeah.
97.3. Like if you're buying 80/20 beef,
Yes.
that's a lot different than 96.4.
Right. So if you are given some kind of meal plan, if you're given a training program, a cardio program, you know, supplementation, things like that, don't add in weird shit without asking your coach. Don't say like, oh yeah, today I just really feel like doing the elliptical when you're supposed to be doing the stairs or you're supposed to be doing the treadmill or whatever. No, that's not what
I
we said.
remember when you were doing that with Coach Adam and he like,
ripped me a new
no,
asshole.
we're not doing that.
Yeah. If you watch Bikini in the Brain, right?
Yeah.
Bikini in the Brain.
Yeah.
Adam and Ashley. Adam was my coach for 6 months last year.
Yeah.
And I can't remember why I ended up on the elliptical. I think because I saw somebody, I did a classic like, oh, I think one of his athletes was on it. I'm sure it's fine. And he's like, yeah, don't do that elliptical.
You were like, I'm having so much fun.
I was like, the elliptical is so much fun. It's like clubbing, but not. Yeah. So just sticking to the plan. You know, we see this. I think we talked about this a little bit on the last one.
Yes.
Where people try to do too much and then they add in extra stuff. And
or they're not doing what is on the plan. And then they're like, that's the thing. Okay. If you're not doing the work, don't be surprised when you don't get the results.
Yes.
When you check in and you're like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, listen, bitch, you know what happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I know what happened too.
We're trying to bake a cake. Okay. So if you're baking a cake from scratch, not like Duncan Hines the box, okay?
Dump it in.
Like you bust out the flour and the salt and all that, right?
You lost me.
Coaches are baking a cake, right? We're giving you the ingredients to have a beautiful cake one day for 30 seconds on stage. Okay. Don't fuck with the ingredients. Unless your coach tells you or you have a conversation, making those decisions on your own, like could possibly lead to results you don't want. Okay.
I mean, yeah, this goes pretty well into, you know, different things we're doing for peak week.
Which is our yes.
I see where we're going here.
Yes. The next thing is not doing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Right. So keeping your eyes on your own paper as an athlete, like, I get it. You get shiny object syndrome. You start looking at this coach's athletes. We talk about this all the time. And you're like, you start following this girl. She's got a really phenomenal physique. And you're like, oh, well, what is she doing? Oh, well,
she's eating 300 grams of carbs.
She's doing this. And her coach is having her do this for cardio. Well, so-and-so. And I'm like, I get that. And I'm not nuanced in like just thinking my way is the only way. But like, just let's have a dialogue about it. I'm probably going to be open to it, but let's figure out if that's good for you. Right. Just because it's good for her does not mean it's necessarily like something I would want to have you do.
Right.
Right. So there's that. Now, some things to look for. Do you have anything else to say about that?
There's going to be times, especially if you are in prep and you are getting close to your show, there's going to be times where you're going to be like, why am I doing this? Is this really what I want to do? What is this coach doing to me? And you just need to be like, no, bitch, I wanted to make it to stage and that's what I'm going to do. You're already probably really close by the time you're starting to feel this. So just put your head down, keep doing the work. And there's a reason that you paid your coach to tell you what to do.
Yes.
So do it.
The exception to that is if you obviously feel anything health-wise is off.
Right.
1,000% stop doing what you're, you know, like if you're concerned at all for your health and like, oh my gosh, this, you know, something's happening or whatever, 100%. That's a totally like, we're not even talking in that category.
Think that doesn't come up to me because that's the question that we ask in our check-ins.
Yes.
We ask every week, how are you feeling? How's your hunger? How's your body? You know, how are your workouts? All of those things. So we always touch on that. And I actually, like, I know that people are like getting sick and whatnot. I feel like you should reach out to your coach and let them know.
Yeah. Because antibiotics, you know, you think if you have this controlled environment, you're in prep, whatever, you're on supplements, you're doing your thing, and you throw something like antibiotics into the mix, we're killing off bacteria, which is also killing off good bacteria, which now your GI is going to be a little wonky, probably.
So basically, she said you can't poop.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a possibility. Or, you know,
poop
all
too
of a
much.
sudden you can't go to the bathroom properly, you know, because maybe you need probiotics. Like there's little things that like I will know to add in if I have a client that is on antibiotics,
Yeah.
you know? So yes, being very clear with things that are happening with your health are also very important too, because you're dealing with your health when you do bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, that's the whole point of the sport.
Right. So when looking for a coach, some things you should be looking at are obviously, do they have experience?
Right.
Right. Do they have experience? You know, I don't feel like coaches necessarily have to have competed. I do feel like it does make a difference when you can relate to your athletes. Like I have had some male coaches that have never competed. I mean, they've done bodybuilding like as a workout or whatever, but they haven't actually been on stage.
Right.
And I always felt like, yeah, you just don't really understand.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I feel like it's a whole circus.
it is a whole ass
It's
circus.
a whole circus.
Yes. So just hiring somebody because they did one show and they're like the only person in your gym and like you're like, oh, that girl did a show, I'm going to hire her to be my coach. Don't know that that's a great idea.
Right. So you want to look and see if they've coached people before.
Yeah. Have they been a personal trainer at least so they know how to train the body and how to write a program, right? Do they have any experience with diet coaching at all? Have they had any experience getting somebody results, extreme results? Not like, oh, she lost 5 pounds to go on vacation. Like 30 pounds, more than 30 pounds. Do they have experience doing that? Do they have experience with women? Do they have experience competing themselves? Have they put people on stage before? What do those people look like? Reach out to those people. How was their experience? You know, things like that.
She said, reach out to the coaches' athletes, y'all.
Yes.
Don't be afraid. This is like literally going to be, you know, somewhat in like 6 months to a year hobby that you're going to be working on and spending a lot of money on. So don't be afraid to reach out to somebody and start asking questions.
It's like if you wanted to go buy, like if I went to go buy my new car and I didn't go test drive it first. I'm like, no, my friend has one. It's fine. I trust her.
I can't even go to the restaurant without checking up the Yelp and the pictures.
Exactly. I'd be like, let me drive the car, ask my friend how she likes the car. That's how I bought my BMW.
Yeah.
Was Tina loves her car. She talks about her car. It's amazing. She loves the place where she bought it. Right. So I encourage people to do their homework and reach out to more than one athlete on the page, right? Just to see how their experience was. Like, you know, how was your experience with coaching? One other thing is communication. Super important. You should be able to have communication with your coach. You know, we default to email. Obviously, they know, you know, you can find us on Instagram. It's not like
we're much easier.
It's not like we're trying to hide from anybody. Once we get into a situation where in a prep scenario, you know, we get on a call, we have a WhatsApp access where we're texting and communicating that way. But you should not be going days without hearing from your coach. I've had some people say I haven't heard from my coach in like 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
Yes. Even in the off season, to me, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, even like I still have a few clients that are on biweekly because they're just like, lifestyle clients doing really well. They just need somebody to kind of like make sure they're doing the things, but not a whole lot of guidance. So it's like, even with them, you know, I want people to kind of reach out to me, you know, whether that be via social media. Like I love hearing from my clients, my athletes and all of that. When they post, they tag. So that's another thing too, you know, if you do that, you're going to just start motivating everybody else and yourself.
Yeah, for sure. But with, you know, with the communication piece of it, you need to know that you can ask a question and have an answer relatively soon. Like 24 hours, I feel like is reasonable throughout the week, right?
Yeah.
You know, somebody emails me, I'm in my inbox every single day, Monday through Friday, I'm going to answer, right? So if somebody needs something like, hey, you know, whatever, that can get addressed. And, you know, if they're needing something on the weekends and they're in a prep scenario, they'll have access to reach us to make sure they get their questions answered.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't ask, you'll never know the answer. And if you don't know the answer, you're just going to assume what you think it is. And if you don't feel comfortable asking your coach questions, that is the wrong coach. That is the wrong coach for you.
Yes. You
If
have
you
to
feel-
feel like you can approach them.
If you feel like they're too busy, like don't. You're paying for a service. They are your coach. Like obviously, yes, we have boundaries and things like that. But, you know, if you're realistic and you're respectful of your coach's time as well as yours, ask a question.
Absolutely.
Ask all the questions.
Yeah. The next thing that you should be looking out for when you go to hire a coach is someone who's giving you really unrealistic expectations. Okay. Like making promises ahead of time. I can make you a pro. I can make you a winner.
Oh.
Nope. Don't do it. I think the furthest I'll go is I would love to eventually get you on, you know, into nationals and make a pro out of you. But like
Right.
after I've like seen the athlete compete and I've put them through a show, you know, like I only say that to people who I genuinely feel that way about. I don't tell that to all my clients.
No.
So if you are one of my athletes and I'm like, we need to look at nationals or we need to look at masters nationals, it's because I see something there. We're sensing a trend with your competition wins, etc. That would be where we need to start leading. If
You've
you're
already
winning
won.
you're winning opens and
Yes.
things like that, right? But if you get on a phone with somebody and they're giving you or, you know, a call or whatever, and they're just saying like, yeah, I basically, you know, I could turn you into a pro, like just take that with a grain of salt because that there's no guarantees in becoming a pro is a very, very hard thing. They don't.
How long did
they
it
don't
take you?
It's me forever and ever and ever. Okay. And like how many people have we seen that go to nationals like so many times
Yeah.
and still never get their pro card?
There's a lot of competitors, you guys, and you have to think these are the best of the best in, well, I guess everywhere, right? In the US?
Yeah. I mean, people fly from all over the US for nationals.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big thing and it's a huge investment in time and money and all those things. So I just never say that to a client just to say that.
No.
You know, it's like we've done a couple shows, you've won.
I'm not even going to lie. Like
you have a
I would
competitive
not
physique.
want to go to nationals unless I know I'm going to kill.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. So there's that. So the next thing is, and this is something that I've been talking with like new clients with and things like that. And there's like lack of individualization.
Yeah.
So this was something like my first coach did, you know, way back in the day where it was like everybody got the same meal plan. Like we all showed up for posing practice and he handed us all out.
Just like copied.
Yeah.
Copy and paste.
then like eventually it got
Started changing.
personalized after like a while, but I feel like in the beginning we all got the like 16 weeks out meal plan. Like
Right.
all the women got like the specific one and the guys got that. And I like knew no better. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Me and so-and-so are eating the same thing, you know, it's whatever. And I think now, like if you want to see results, it has to be personalized.
That's the thing I think about really being able to have our competitors, even lifestyle clients, long before, you know, we're getting like super lean. Cause then like we are watching them do it with macros. And then once it's time, most folks, okay, I know that some people do macros for competition. For me personally, I think it's just too many variables. I want to make sure that everything is the same every day. So I moved to a meal plan, which in turn, you know, I think works better. There's not as much things. And then when that meal plan changes, it's not very much.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
then we just keep pushing it down and down. So macros make their way into that meal plan. And then once you're really close, you're getting close to show, you know, that meal plan is going to really show all your hard work because
Yes.
you're going to be able to kind of bust harder and know what's going in your body.
And I do think, you know, when it comes to individualization for certain things, so like let's say weight training, for example, right?
Yeah.
You know, when we first acquire an athlete and we have no idea what's lying underneath the body fat, right?
Right.
We don't have a whole lot of tone to see. We don't see a whole lot. We're trying to like build and all the things. There's going to be a pretty standard program, right? We're going to build everywhere. If I have two athletes that are generally the same, they're probably going to get a very similar training program, if not the same training program. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
And then as we move through the program, as we see the body change, as we start to pull back the layers of body fat, then we're like, oh, okay, Mrs. Jones, you know, she had big legs. We thought maybe wellness. It was probably more body fat than anything. Okay, we're going to switch you to bikini because we're seeing some things change. Now your program needs to change, right? We got to focus on this. Or, as you drop body fat, we're like, okay, your shoulders are a lot bigger than we thought they were. So we're probably going to pull back on shoulders or like whatever. So as your body leans out, those things will change, get a little more dialed in. Obviously the longer you've been training, you get more dialed in and more specialized for certain things.
Yeah.
Because you start to realize what body parts need to grow and what some things are too big, right? So there is that. But when you are bodybuilding, we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast. It's like some of my girls are eating 6 meals. Some of them are eating 4 meals.
Right.
Some of them will absolutely hate fish. And I have had some people say to me, I could never bodybuild because I will never eat fish. And I'm like, that's great. You don't have to.
Right.
Sure. Like people think it like thins the skin. I'm like, no, that's not really a thing.
Honestly, I prefer cod over chicken, but I'm weird.
Yeah. So not like
I'm weird.
Danielle's never eaten fish.
Never.
I don't
not
think
once.
Stephanie's ever eaten fish. Like
no.
Some of these girls that are winning on my team never had a bite of fish. They're like, if it's in the ocean, I do not want to put it in my mouth.
No feet, no eat.
Yeah, that. So just know it doesn't all have to be the same, and like it's customizable, and it should be based off of like where you're at, right? And we talked about earlier in the beginning, there's going to be some things that are the same, right? Like rice,
your friend's going to be eating chicken,
oatmeal, cream of rice, like basic standard single ingredient whole food carbohydrates that aren't fructose are probably going to make up a bulk of your bodybuilding.
Why is that making me hungry right now?
I know. I need a snack.
We need a snack.
Okay. The other red flag is unsafe or extreme practices.
Can we touch on the excessive cardio? Because
yes,
I feel like people don't understand how much cardio you're actually doing at the end of your prep.
Yeah. For some people like yourself.
Hi.
Yeah. And myself.
It was 2-a-days for, I don't even know how long. I just quit asking.
Yes.
I just knew it was twice a day.
Yes. And
on top of training.
And some people will argue like, if you're having to do 2-a-days, you probably shouldn't do the show. Some people dick around.
Have you seen me?
Some people snack, bite, lick, taste. Some people eat the pantry. And then they're like, well, we're going to make this up at the 11th hour and we're going to fucking make shit happen. And let me tell you, there's a ton of that in the bodybuilding world. All right. I will tell clients, but a lot of times clients won't say anything like, oh, I ate this or ate that. They'll be like, doing all the things, coach. And then I hear about it afterwards.
Correct. If you're lying to your coach, that's a red flag on you. Not your coach.
Yeah. So there is going to be a point of that. I will not put somebody in like 3 hours of cardio a day.
No.
I will say that. But there's sometimes up in the last 4 weeks where you're doing close to 2. If we're too far off, if we had weeks where there was no progress, that happens. Not my favorite, but you should definitely be aware of coaches who tell you have to take certain things or you're not going to succeed. That's another extreme, unsafe type of a thing, right?
Yeah.
I always have the steroid talk with my girls at the start of our coaching relationship. Mm-hmm. So if I'm on a Zoom with them or a call or I'm doing their first intake video or whatever, I will mention that. I will say, let's just get the elephant in the room on the table and let's just take a bite, okay? Yeah. Because it's bodybuilding.
Right.
There are drugs involved.
Correct.
It does not mean you need to do it. However, if you are considering it or you thought you'd want to talk to me about it, now's the time so I can advise you the healthful way on which this needs to be done. And if you do not, this is the last time I'm going to speak about it.
Right.
Okay. So I don't say you should. I don't say any of that. I just this is reality. Pick your destination. Okay. And we'll go from there. And I support either decision.
Yeah.
I will love you just as much as my enhanced athletes, if not more. Like,
right.
It doesn't matter, right? It holds no anything like, ooh,
Yeah.
I don't like her,
Oh, man.
No, it's reality.
Yeah.
And I will always be real about that.
That would be like not liking somebody because they drank alcohol or because they didn't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
Or
it's
because
like, it's your body. Why would I care about that?
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I'm just realistic about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the sport.
Everybody should be.
This is what happens. Just so you know, these girls on stage, a lot of them are not natty. Okay.
Especially the ones that are in the top 5.
Yeah, a lot of them. Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Sometimes a lot of them. Okay, another one, unprofessional behaviors.
What would that be?
Well,
I wouldn't know.
yeah. So I've had experiences with the coaches who got one coach who got inappropriate with me, more of like unprofessional sexual conduct-y kind of communication.
Okay.
So that's a huge red flag, and you should not put up with that. So there's that, and that happens.
I think a coach that's not being respectful of your time, like we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, of like taking a long time to get back to you, unless there's like something going on, or if they're reaching out to you and letting you know that there's going to be a delay. You want to make sure that, everybody's just being respectful of each other's time, because you're paying for a service. They're also being paid for that on this certain time that they're giving you.
Right. I think too, we were talking with Alicia because we were like, hey, we're doing this podcast, like what you got. And we were talking about like, I think I never played sports, right? I just saw my kids in sports.
Right.
And I saw how sometimes the coaches would speak to the kids, right? Not my favorite. I'm not saying all coaches, but
I was just talking about this.
But some of the football coaches for my son's football teams and things like that when they were growing up. And I was just like, don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody. They were like, okay, well, yeah, I was working out with like either, whoever it would be, like a trainer or their husband or whoever it was. And they're like, he's really like a good coach, but not a good trainer, because that's how they coach. They coach as, oh, you can do better than that, blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
And like, we're just not like that.
No.
Like I'm everybody's cheerleader, and, I'm going to like make you think that you can lift something.
Yes.
And I'm going to make you believe it.
Right.
And then we try it.
Right.
And then you do it. And then we all fucking cheer and have a great old time.
For sure.
And it's just a different way. So it's very.
You need somebody who's like bringing you up and not bringing you down.
Yeah.
Right. And like sometimes I'm in go mode and I'm doing check-ins and I'm like replying to athletes and I'm like, we're on it. Boom. Great. We hit our milestones. Da, 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 da. But I'm not spending a ton of time like, you're fucking crushing. I'm like not a gigantic cheerleader. I feel like you're super duper cheerleader.
I am.
I'm like, good job. Let's go. 1 week. Make me proud. Boom.
Well, I mean, I do that too.
Yes.
It's like when you have nothing to change, you're like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Boom. And that's it.
But when you have a client who sends a check-in that's not so great, right? Like I'm using air quotes. It's not 100%. It's not perfect or whatever.
Yeah.
The manner, the delivery, the coaching strategy, the way that you talk to them about it, that's important.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
oh yeah.
We talked about this on a previous podcast. We believe that most of coaching and the success with athletes is because somebody believes in them other than themselves.
Right.
Right. Like clearly we have the tools, but also because we're like, no, sweetheart. Yes, you can do this.
Yes, you can.
Don't tell me you can't. Because guess what? I did it. And like all the girls before you and after you, they're all doing it too. Like, so a lot of it is like, you got this, like, we're going to fucking do it. Like even though you're doing all the things, but like we together, our brains, it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's important. Unprofessional behavior, you need to keep an eye on for.
Yeah. Get out of that.
Yeah. And then the last one I would say, I'm sure there's others, but these are the main ones that we thought about was somebody who has a bad reputation, who has a bad record, athletes are dying. Athletes are, having, I mean, that's clearly, that's a thing. Let's be real, right? Like it's happened a lot in the last couple of years.
It has.
Generally male bodybuilders, but there have been some female,
there has
up in the higher echelons of bodybuilding that unfortunately have had some situations. So making sure that, and we talked about this earlier, just they have good rapport with their athletes and all is well there. I think that's super duper important. Getting some feedback from other clients.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, before and afters are going to speak for themselves. Obviously, if people are getting results, they like their coach.
Yeah.
Right.
So some other things too, obviously the bodybuilding world is a small community. There's buzz.
Everybody knows
right?
everybody.
Especially like in our town. And, if you have a town where there's multiple, or a bigger city where there's multiple coaches and things like that, something that's like highly frowned upon is poaching other people's clients. Like if you know of a coach that's you hear like, oh, they're in the DMs, because I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this so-and-so coach was in my DMs saying I need to come over to his team and this and that. And this has happened to my athletes and they've told me.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, like that's so gross to me. That's just so gross.
It's not a cute look. That's for sure.
It's not. And, I've had experiences, not necessarily that, at least to my knowledge, actually I do have a couple, where I feel like they were poached. Right. Yeah. And like, I have nothing against them. I'm like, cool. Do you like different experience? Different like I said, I don't think I know all the things, but there's also instances where certain coaches, and I see this a lot more like in like the pros, I think more than the amateurs, but I've had this happen to myself where like I've trained an athlete for a couple years, right? Got them into some shows, and I have a specific situation where like things went sour that had nothing to do with a prep scenario.
Right.
And then, several weeks later, this athlete competes and a totally different coach takes my credit, which is like, it's whatever. It's whatever.
What are you going to do?
It's whatever.
What are you going to do?
So just knowing, like, are you hiring somebody that has like a fucking salty reputation? Like, you should probably know that. I don't poach people's clients. If they come to me, so this is the other thing too, I don't have poor sportsmanship, and that's one thing that we talk about often personally. So I have zero tolerance for it with my athletes. But when I get people who solicit me and then I know they have another coach that I might know personally or have rapport with, I ain't trying to create bad blood. Sorry. That's not my jam. I'm not a drama person. I don't want that.
Is a small community.
It's very small. Word gets around.
We're all in the same room at one point.
We all see each other. I likely
you might work out in their gym.
Yeah, like things like that. So just, I have, a professionalism, even though it probably seems like I don't, but there is a level of professionalism when it comes to this I take very seriously.
Yeah, of course. Of
so
course.
if I have athlete coming to me, I do make sure, like, I'd like you to let your coach know that you're taking a different route. Please let them know that is me because I am their friend or I know them or
you might see them at a show.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully we're all adults here and it's all fine and it can be like no big deal. And, it is what it is. It's just how the industry works. Right. So super important that if that is the case for you, like understand that, this is a profession that I take seriously personally,
Yeah.
So some other things you should ask your coach about is what is their peak week strategy like? I love when athletes ask me this. I love it.
I feel like that I would never ask that question.
I think it's a really good question to ask.
I would never ask that question.
Right?
So, yeah, I want to know.
Ahead. Yeah, I feel like it's important to ask, so how does peak week go? Because peak week is an important part of your prep, right? It's like, it's the final week.
It's my favorite part, typically.
It's my least favorite part because I hate how I have to like slowly pull back activity and like do certain things and it leaves idle hands and like you're hungry and I don't like that. But I get why it's some people's favorite part of the prep. But you want to make sure, with peak week, there's a lot of like old school things that are still happening and people are like really depleting water. Or they're like salt loading and then pulling salt and using diuretics and doing like these crazy depletion workouts or like, they're giving their clients some just kind of crazy foods that they need to eat that they weren't eating at all prior to. So these are some, in my opinion, these are some red flags, right? I don't feel that it's responsible to, throw a bunch of weird shit in the week before somebody's show when you haven't done any of that prior to. If you've tested it, great. If you have not the time to do it.
I literally eat cold cod and rice cakes.
Yeah.
On show day.
Yeah. And I understand, there have been, back in the day, like when my coach was like, oh, you're going to eat this the night before, and then the morning of, you're going to have this and that. And, you're excited as an athlete because you're like, I haven't had honey and syrup and pancakes or waffles or, whatever, a burger, fries.
Yeah, burger and fries.
And let me just be the first to say that I was this coach when I first started.
I still want to eat the burger and fries though.
Yeah. Like I was this coach because this is what I was indoctrined to before I started hiring other coaches who were coaching pros and who had Olympians and shit like that. And I'm like, oh, there's a reason you don't want me eating a burger and fries the night before the show. Because I haven't had gluten for 16 weeks. That's probably number one.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Or I haven't had beef, like for 16 weeks or whatever. So knowing like peak week should just be very similar to the other weeks with some slight variances if you're show ready.
Right.
Yeah. The goal is you're show ready. You coast into peak week. If you're lucky, we are starting to reverse diet you because we haven't had to push fat loss until the last fucking minute, right?
Right.
And you're starting to feel better, right? Your workouts should get a little less crazy as you get closer to the show, right? That week.
Yeah.
Your food should be increasing. Your activity should be coming down. We're trying to get the body to calm down a little bit while still stimulating the muscle, not annihilating it. It's not the time to do new workouts. Do the shit you've been responding to.
Don't try new exercise.
It's not the time to go do, Orange Theory and boot camps and HIIT classes the week. I don't know that anybody does that, but I'm just saying, like, keep everything the same unless your coach tells you not to. Yeah. Unless they're telling you to do any of the dumb things I just told you to do. Okay.
And then
yes,
you think about it after that and see how you feel.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep in mind what we said.
Super, super important to, find out what their strategy is for peak week.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Love that.
Okay. Some last minute things to keep in mind when it comes to coaches. We're fucking human. We make mistakes.
This is true.
Point them out, ask questions, confirm, double check, and then go with your gut. If you're like, okay, we had to talk about it. I communicated clearly what my concerns were or my questions or whatever. Either if they're not giving me the answer that makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
Or pointing me in the direction to find the answer. What are we doing? I need to clarify. Like, this is really something that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. The other thing, boundaries.
Yeah.
We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that you're checking in on time. If you have questions, you ask them immediately, all the things. I'm not particularly a fan of, and I will tell athletes this is a boundary that I set. I know you have a little bit, you have your own, but for me personally, like, don't DM me questions about your program.
No.
I don't have that. So there's that.
Questions about your program goes through the system, the portal.
Right.
If you don't put it in the portal, it's going to get lost. We're never going to find it.
Yes.
And we need to know those things. So if it's anything pertaining to your plan, it should be in the portal, sending it that way.
Yeah.
If you don't hear from either of us or one of us or whoever your coach is within, with the means of it being a weekend, 24 hours, by all means, then reach me in a DM, say, hey, I sent you a message.
Right.
So I can go over there and see it and then send you a reply.
Yeah. But I also think too, while we want constant communication and like talk to us, ask us all the things, also be understanding too, if you send your coach a text at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you see them on Instagram later and they haven't answered you, don't take that personal, right? Like, I see it, but I'm trying to have a life right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means zoning out on social media and, you asking me about a tan question or something that can wait till tomorrow, something that's like 4 weeks from now or whatever. Like, I'm going to get to you. Just relax.
It's going to be okay.
Okay.
It's going to be
just know that they're not doing it to be a dick. They just want, like, when you come home from work, you don't want your boss calling you at 7 p.m. while you're trying to eat dinner.
No.
So it's like little things like that.
That's literally what I'm doing. If anybody texts me or sends me DMs at this point, I'm either eating or working out or working.
Yes.
So if you don't get anything back from me, I'm just really busy.
Yeah. So I think it's just, I think it's just common things, but I'm just some people will come to me and be like, well, my coach, and they expect me to be like on their side. And I'm like, actually, so if you have a coach that's like, you find this is a thing, right? Like you text them at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, 6 p.m., 5:01 p.m., and they don't get back to you till the next day, but you see them on Instagram. That's cool. It's business hours.
Yeah.
Like it's all right. Unless there's an emergency.
We have a life.
So there's that. And then just, being respectful. We talked about that too, but not being mad if they don't remember your shit. And I mean, in the way that like we see our girls in the studio, right?
Right.
Or for posing or whatever. I wish I could store all that data in my head and be like a genius about like, oh yes, I know exactly what you're
know what
eating.
I do? You know what I do to them?
What?
I say, what'd your coach say?
Yeah.
What did your coach say?
Yeah. Oh.
And then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
What
And
did
you're
your
their
coach
coach.
tell you?
And even if you're their coach.
Yeah.
That's better.
Oh,
That's great.
Yeah. I'm not going to give you the answer.
Yeah. They'll be like,
I
do you still want me?
no.
Do you still want me doing this, and this? Or do you still want me to go to follow the, the meal plan as it is? I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. I have no idea.
What did it say before?
Help me.
If
think.
not, ask.
Yeah. If I'm at my desk and I'm working and like, that's totally different. But if I'm like out of town and you DM me on Instagram and do what cardio do you want me to do this week? I don't know. What cardio have you been doing?
When in doubt,
coached you
do what you were doing before.
Even if I've coached you for 5 years, yes, I don't store that data in my brain. So don't take that personally.
Yeah. And that just goes to show how personalized everything is with all of our ladies. Nobody's really doing exactly the same thing. There is nobody that I know that is doing exactly the same thing.
And if they are, it's by super massive coincidence. It's like
right.
Really coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, you're doing 5 days of cardio. And
yes.
5 days of training and you're hitting legs 4 times. Like,
right. There's going to be
some
standards.
You're eating chicken and rice for meal number 4.
For sure. For sure.
Completely the same? Absolutely not for us. That's not the way the body works.
Like the measurements will be different. The time of cardio will be different. Sometimes the cardio instructions will be different. Mm-hmm. Things like that. So, yeah.
Love that.
Love that. Okay. Lastly, just keep in mind when you hire a bodybuilding coach to prepare for a show, it is an important decision. So again, take your time to figure that out. First of all, really make sure that you are ready to compete. You are in the right mindset. That's a whole entirely different podcast. But making sure that you know that you are ready to do this thing and take your time to find your coach, because you want to be able to enjoy the experience as much as you possibly can, right? Feel that you're guided there with not feeling like lost and confused and you don't know what you're doing. You want to know, like, even if you don't see your coach, you know what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Right. Trust your instincts, trust your gut. If something feels off, something doesn't feel right, communicate that, tease it out with your coach. Sometimes you have prep brain, right? Prep brain can really fuck some shit up for you. You should think like, I need to switch coaches now. I'm 3 weeks out. No. Unless something is terribly wrong or whatever, like, don't make that rash decision. What other irrational decisions do you make during prep? I always tell girls, do not make big life-changing decisions during prep.
Yeah.
I'm usually like, you cannot decide to leave your husband until after the show. Don't file for divorce.
Listen, that goes to show, like, if your relationship is not in a good place, prep is going to be hard.
It makes everything worse.
It makes everything hard.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people that manage it very well, but nobody's perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So just be ready for a lot of things. Be ready to make sure that you're not out socializing, having big vacations. Your grandma's turning 80, I don't know, and you got to go to her party, whatever it might be.
You're taking your food.
You're taking your food. Yeah. So prep is a different animal. So I would definitely, if you don't know anything about it, start watching some YouTubes. There's tons of them on YouTube of people going through prep, and you're going to notice, it's all fun and games until you get to the end. And then you're like, oh, I got another 10 pounds to lose and I've done all this already.
It's a lot.
I just made a post the other day. I know everybody this is probably not good for business, but everybody wants
it's okay.
to
Do it all the
prep.
time.
Everybody wants to prep, but they don't want to do the things to get to stage
Yeah.
because it's not fucking easy.
No, food is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Food is the hardest part.
I feel like
I can train all day. I can cardio all day.
all day.
All damn day, sweet Susie.
What do I got? I got 23,000 steps.
Walk all the miles.
23,000
I'll figure
steps.
that shit out. I will make it happen. But the food is the hardest part. And you can tell me all day, like, food's not my problem. And then you get into contest prep and you're going to be like, I forgot I like food.
Yeah.
Okay. We had some cues that came through.
What the fuck do I wear to the gym? What are your favorite brands? I wear Salty Savage. Use my code Amanda Glitters.
Yeah, we'll link that in the show notes. My favorite is Bombshell Sportswear. I think I have a link. I'll put it in the show notes too. But the quality is great. My daughter wears it. She loves it.
Yeah.
We both really love the quality. I mean, I have some cheapy things from like Amazon. I'm not really like attached to a certain brand. I know some people are like diehard, whatever. Buff Bunny, I think, is another one that's popular.
I just want to find something that fits me and it fits me comfortably and I feel good. And then I buy it 100 times.
I bought those shorts from that one brand. It's like NVTGLNMNOP. I don't even know. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because Crystal called it by its name.
Yeah.
And I don't remember.
I don't even know. But I did buy a couple pairs of their shorts. I really like them. Okay, next question.
Are you ready? Okay. I just am not happy about my size. I work out, lift weights, and get steps in. I try to not eat like an asshole, but I'm just not happy with my weight. It's an everyday struggle for me. Like multiple times a day, I feel inadequate and compare myself to other coworkers. Please help.
Well, hang out with people that don't think like that.
Yeah.
Or at least
don't make you feel that way.
Don't make you feel that way. Get rid of your scale. Take pictures. Take measurements. Are you working with a coach? I mean, I know that that's not the answer for everything, but a lot of times we think things aren't working or changing, but it's because
we're missing a piece of the puzzle.
We see ourselves every day and we don't see the changes, especially because you're in the thick of it, right? The other thing that stands out to me is I try not to eat like an asshole. That's probably the problem.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is that most of the time, if we're not being babysat, when we have fat loss goals.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying in general, but like when you want to lose some body fat, it's a coach's job to continually say, like, this is what you said you wanted to do.
If I did not check in, if I did not have my check-in, I would have had pizza. I would have had donuts.
Yeah.
I would have had Oreos.
Right.
But I got goals and I need somebody to hold me to it.
And that's me.
So I have a coach.
Yeah.
And she tells me what to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, our favorite saying is when you pay attention.
Yeah.
When you shell out some money, and a lot of people, hesitate with that. Not, budget could be the issue too, but sometimes they don't want to do it because then it means they actually really have to do the fucking things.
Right. I mean, also at that point, we're not saying like you need to go get a personal trainer. Like if you just start going to Planet Fitness and that's your thing, like go do that. I know this person is working out and lifting weights. Maybe you need some help in that department. Maybe you're not training to intensity. Maybe you're not pushing yourself. That's a great thing to do and go try a training session with a personal trainer.
Yeah. And the other thing too, the back part of this comment/question is multiple times a day, I feel inadequate and compare myself to other coworkers. Like, I know this is kind of, woo-woo-y, but like, think about all the things that you do and have that they don't.
Right.
Like no two people are identical. Like you have amazing strengths that I don't have, vice versa, that we're all unique snowflakes. And I understand that, like the whole comparison thing, but I think the sooner that I stop doing that, I don't want to be like, you just fucking stop. Like you just have to know that that's self-destructive to a certain point. It's not helping you.
You have to stop thinking those things. It's like you got to put up a stop sign and be like, nope, we're not thinking that. And we're going to just switch our brain and think a different way.
Yeah.
I know that it sounds dumb, but the more that you do that, the more you practice that, the more you're going to start to love your body. Because do you all think that I was confident when I was 300 pounds?
I feel like you would have.
I mean, it was kind of fake though.
Okay. Well, you faked it.
I faked it
until
really
you
well.
became it. And then you're just like, okay, I'm Amanda Glitters.
Right. But like I had to become confident in my body at every size.
Yes.
If you lose weight, you're not going to be happy if you're not still happy with what's inside you. And I know it sounds stupid, but like if I'm not happy at this weight or I'm not happy at 14 pounds ago, like I was just recently, I'm never going to be happy when I'm super skinny either.
Yes.
Or when I'm ready to get on stage. I have to enjoy every part of the journey. So like when I was heavy, you know, or even heavier, or even when I was big, you know, I wanted to change my life. So I did the things to do that. Then I was, you know, 100 pounds down. I had to learn my body, love my body that way. Then I was 150 pounds down. I had to learn to love my body that way. And I'll tell you right now, when I'm on stage, it's the most insecure I usually am.
Yeah, we talked about that last podcast.
Yeah,
but
we sure did.
You know, I think there's something to be said about the people you surround yourself with 1,000%, because I will say that this could be because of experience, of me doing it so many times, of me seeing my body off season, in season, you know, and fluctuating, and then just finally like embracing it. But I do feel like part of that has been because you and I have spent so much time together, and like we just decided we're not going to talk like that.
No.
Right? Like,
no.
Because
if
we've
anybody
both
says
caught
that,
each other doing that.
Oh yeah. If people say that and I hear that, nope.
Yes.
We don't say that.
Right.
I stop them in their tracks.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even like negative things that I'm hearing from people, like, or topics that I think are taboo that I'm not interested in speaking about with my friends, I leave the room. Or I will be like, no, I don't really want to talk about that. Thanks.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it's rude or not, it's a boundary that I keep. And I assume that that's probably why I have a lot of friends.
Positive Pollyanna.
That's me.
Signing
Hi.
off. Okay. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up. There's just a couple things we wanted to mention, because we have not opened up coaching for the team in so long. And we're going to do it this year. So you guys have heard me time and time again, like not taking athletes. We are going to open up coaching in July, when our current clients, most of them are done competing for this first half of the year. Things slow down a little bit. We're going to be opening up coaching for the team. So the Goddess Body Elite team, you can be anywhere in the fucking US. Yep. It does not need to be NPC. You could be a natural competing athlete. And this could be something you want to do for the first time. You know, you don't have to be somebody who's already done this. If you've already competed, that's great too. Yes. That makes it also usually a little bit easier for you. But we will be opening up and it's going to be application process on July 17th. So we still got a lot of time, but we just want to at least plant the seed.
Just in case you're thinking about it.
Yes.
We wanted you to know first.
Right. And I'll be opening it up we have an email wait list first, but it will be application by physique assessment. So physique assessment, which I will look over, go through, give you a personalized video and let you know what that would look like for you.
That makes it real.
And like map it out, you know, loosely speaking, like you're here, you want to be here, and this is what it would take. This is the amount of time it would take. This is what I think the process would look like. And, you know, yes, you'd be a good fit. Maybe not right now, you know, whatever. You know, I'm super honest and transparent. I always am very professional in my, you know, delivery of things, but I'm very honest.
Well, I think, you know, this just goes to say, you know, this is not necessarily for people that are ready to commit this year.
Yes.
Or compete this year. You know, if you guys remember, I prepped for 2 years before I actually stepped on stage, basically.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to be ready right now. You know, if you have a significant amount of body fat to lose, that is something that we do. And the longer that your coach can have you, the more she learns your body, the better you're going to do when you get on stage.
Most definitely. So we will be, you know, as we get closer, giving you the info on that. However, if you at least want to get on the email list for that, so you are aware when this time comes, you know, in case you forget or you're on vacation or whatever, I will have a link in the show notes for you to get on the wait list. So you can be potentially submitting a physique assessment for being on the team. So
I can't believe you just said that. That's so exciting. Like we haven't done this.
We have, since we've had the podcast.
We have not done this.
Maybe I did.
I think you
a year and a half, but it was just the email list.
Yeah.
Because I was taking a few clients after a few had competed and they were like, I'm going to go in the off season. I'm like, okay, I can open up my roster a little bit. But yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah. So that's coming soon. And find that link in the show notes and get on the wait list. And you'll hear from us as we get closer. Yay. Okay. That's it, folks.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye. Boss bitch. Thank you for listening to Boss Bitch Radio. It would mean the world to me if you could rate and review the podcast. If you could give us a 5-star review on iTunes, drop us a little comment. We will read those and we offer prizes as a ethical bribe for you to leave us some great mojo and words of affirmation. That is my love language. And also, if you're over on Spotify, you can rate and review it there as well. All of this helps other women, other people, other folks see us, hear us, and learn from all of the amazing boss bitch tools and hacks and hopefully get some LOLs. And if not, if anything, if you could share this with one person, I'd love you forever. And I know you are just here for my undying love. And last but not least, please, 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 please come find me over on Instagram so we can be buddies. We can be Insta fam over there. I am Diane Flores _IFBB_pro. Come say hi, drop me a DM, let me know what you think of the podcast. I'm always open for new suggestions and feedback as well. And I hope you listen again soon.